And we're back for another episode of Michigan Wolverines Live. It is June 14th, 2023. It's Wednesday, and we're on live for Michigan Wolverines Live. Go Blue. I'm John Diadamo. I'm going to be your host today. This is a reminder, as always, like, subscribe, share with a friend. Let people know we're live. Put it on Twitter. Tell people about it so that we can really blow this up and make it awesome today. And, of course, as always, joining me, the man who makes this all possible every single week, every single day, Mark Rogers, voice of college football.
Hey, John. Mark? How are you?
I'm good. I got my voice of college football t-shirt on today. I'm going full on. You got yours, so we're going full voice of college football merch.
I was down your way for about 4 or 5 days over a long weekend, and certainly enjoyed that. I had left the great Midwest, Ohio, after close to 2 months of perfect weather. And I've lived in various locations, and mostly in the north, to know better than to let the weather fool me, to know what the data says and what my experience says, other than being fooled by recent trends. So the weather has been outstanding in Ohio for a couple months, but then I came back and I was just hit kind of in the mouth after experiencing that Florida weather. I came back and it was like 60 degrees. It was blustery and cold and spitting rain, and put up with that for a couple days. But looks like it's getting back into summer weather here between 75 and 85 over the next 10 days. So that's good news.
Hey, that's one of my favorite parts about living down here. You get to enjoy the nice weather year round, palm trees, pools, beaches, all that good stuff. So they call it endless summer. That's the idea. But we have a ton to talk about today. So without further ado, we're going to start. We have some breaking news that we want to share. So 4-star wide receiver and also hybrid defensive back player MARION Stewart is expected to commit to Michigan Friday. He announced on his Twitter that he is looking. We obviously, Michigan has recently secured 4-star wide receiver Channing Goodwin, Jaden Davis's teammate, and this adds a much needed piece, because I would say both for this year and next year, I don't have a ton of questions, but wide receiver is the one that keeps coming to mind for both. So with the MARION Stewart coming, and I've got some tape up here as well, this is a player, number 53 wide receiver in the nation. I know Ohio State's used to getting better than that, but this is pretty good for Michigan. Number 7 Illinois and 310 overall. It's pretty solid stats for a Michigan wide receiver, as whatever happens with JJ, Jaden Davis, whoever the quarterback winds up being, this will be a great target for them.
Yeah, love the huddle tape. I've not seen him play other than what we've watched here in the last 30 or 40 seconds. So again, next to the recruiting rankings, which I like to remind everyone are going to be revised a couple times. We're talking about extremely young players who have played a junior season, have yet to play a senior season. They're going to a lot of camps right now, as we talked about on the Ohio State show. Sorry, bad word for everybody. But we talked about on the Ohio State show yesterday. They were going to a number of camps. They get evaluated at these camps. The various services typically update their rankings sometime mid-summer and then do a final rankings review and reevaluation close to National Signing Day. So when Michigan goes in on a player, and I did not see the offer list, but the offer list is typically, we've come across this type of situation a number of times, and the offer list is certainly telling typically. And we see when the other big brands are involved, or a number of them, that tells us enough of what a number of coaching staffs, how they evaluate that player. So coming out of Chicago. Really good football area there, for sure. And Illinois is a good football playing state. So, yeah, good news on the recruiting front again for Michigan. And again, you're reporting based on other reports, of course, about 95% certainty.
Yep. Blue by
going to
90,
commit.
and On3 has a 95% predictor for Michigan. So that's why I do say expected to, but not. Of course, we don't know for certain until he announces on Friday. But all signs point to Michigan. And what I notice about on this tape is his ability not just to run routes, but his ability to improv when he needs to under pressure, to stop, have really good footing in those improv situations. And when he's in double cover, there were a couple of plays here in double coverage where he was able to find the ball, which is, again, that's some college and NFL level stuff, not just high school level stuff. So I think it's notable. And I think Michigan is, if Michigan does secure, that is a crucial second wide receiver for that class. So definitely will help shore things up.
Yeah, you bring up a good point there, because there are typically just levels or layers the higher a player proceeds up through the ranks. So for a wide receiver at the high school level, unless they're playing extremely high level high school football, speed, the speed, the speed gap, the speed advantage, that is everything. If you can just simply catch the football and run decent routes, you're going to take it. If you're a level prospect like he is, then you're going to take advantage and abuse most of the coverages and most of the one-on-one situations that you encounter. But yeah, tighter windows, you got to make catches in traffic. So the catches start to become contested, not as comfortable a catch when there are bodies, when you're having to fight through physical contact to make the catch. The routes have to be more precise. You got to hone your route running to create some level of separation through the route running, and all of those things. And yeah, when you see that, and then the improv, who knows? Well, we've got a good idea who the next quarterback's going to be. He's a pretty good one. That you're going to have a mobile quarterback, and the improv becomes a greater probability on more plays, because the quarterback's going to extend the play, and you're going to break off a route, and then you're going to have to adjust to a football in the air that's not necessarily just a square in, you make the cut, boom, the ball's there, but you've moved around, the quarterback's moving around, and you adjust to the ball in the air more often in those situations. So if he turns out to be that kind of player, then of course Michigan can maybe bring that wide receiver core to a level with the rest of the units on the field.
For sure. And not only, so the recruiting is coming hot and heavy. Michigan just had an official visit bonanza on June 9th, which included 13 players that I was able to find. I think I counted that correctly. 13 players, 7 of them strong leans or commits. That includes a MARION Stewart, 4-star edge Elias Rudolph, 4-star DL Owen Wafel, who we're going to talk about in a couple seconds. 4-star edge Dominic Nichols, 3-star DL Manuel Beagle, 3-star running back who we talked about on either the last show or the show before, Mika Kapana, who I think is an underrated running back, 3-star DL David Poly. Then you get into the in the mix kind of people, like 4-star cornerback Bryce West, 4-star offensive tackle Bennett Warren, 4-star athlete Boo Carter, who's been saying a lot of positive things about Michigan on Twitter, based on what we've been looking at on Twitter. Then you've got your long shots. You've got your 5-star defensive lineman Justin Scott, 5-star wide receiver Ryan Wingo, who looks like he's going to go to Georgia, and 4-star safety Jordan Johnson-Rubel. But regardless, Michigan is making a play here to, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Whether that's Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott, whoever you want to attribute that to, you got to make big swings. And with 13 of these potential commits, recruits, I should say, coming, that's pretty remarkable just for one day, and it continues through the entire month. So looking like things are pretty strong for definitely some of these strong leans and commits for sure.
John, back to the recruit that just or is expected to commit on Friday, the wide receiver out of Chicago.
Yep.
The other trademark of this Michigan program that we've seen, not recruiting quite elite. They're moving in that area this recruiting cycle, but I'm talking about the last few classes. Really good classes, really good players, of course, not quite at the level of a few other programs, but very strong. Where there are certain players where you have a little bit more confidence at particular positions that they're going to turn out, even if they're not highly rated. So Michigan recruits and signs a 3-star offensive lineman. Okay, how many of those guys have turned out to be really good players and then they get drafted 3 years later? A ton of them.
Yep.
Michigan is really developing the offensive line and other areas. Now, the question here is, aside from a Ronnie Bell, who overachieved as a 3-star, now 3 stars aren't all created equal. Some on the high level are really good, accomplished high school football players, but it's a wide range in the 3-star area. But Ronnie Bell being the exception, is Michigan going to take a player like this and turn them into an impact player on the next level? Because they haven't had that level of success at wide receiver like they have at other positions, and taking guys that aren't the premier players in high school, but obviously have great ability and have potential. And let's see if they can do it at that position.
Well, I think even the biggest Michigan supporters would admit that the wide receiver coaching has been at best uneven. Just look at Josh Gaddis, and I don't want to talk too much because everybody gets on me for going anti-Josh Gaddis for 15 minutes, but just watch the tape. Just watch the Miami tape. Just watch what that coaching looked like, wide receiver coaching, and you'll see why some of the players that Michigan has had haven't necessarily done so hot in terms of development and then going to the next level. And I know that does go back prior to him. And you had talent like there are exceptions, of course, but I am with you on that. Wide receiver coaching definitely is I'd say one of the few weak spots that Michigan has had when in comparison, especially to some of these other position groups you mentioned.
Miami's worst position group, as you allude to, this past season was wide receiver, even though the recruiting rankings would not tell you that it should be wide receiver at Miami, but the wide receivers were the worst unit on the field. And my goodness, we won't stay on Josh Gaddis, but can you think of a star that has fallen quicker than Josh Gaddis in 2 years?
The fact that he had to hit up the guy that he was sparring with about who called the plays at Alabama. Well, now they're on the same team, and look, that's going to be fun to watch on TV. I got to say, I think I might watch a little more Maryland than I did last year just to see those two go at it. That's going to be fun. All righty. Well, as we always say, we've got special exclusive content. We did have a couple weeks ago, we had the Ohio State Clemson. We're about to have some more exclusive content. Please consider joining our Patreon, where we talk Wolverines and general college football all the time. People will put up hangouts. They'll put up, hey, let's go play Jeopardy. There's lots of kind of cool community stuff going on pretty much daily on the Discord chat. Or you can sign up for a YouTube membership. Either way, get access to exclusive content and things to really kind of take your Mark Rogers Voice of College Football experience to the next level.
John, this brings to mind because I've been teasing the 1997 Michigan-Nebraska debate. So I think I'm ready to pull the trigger on this one. The day-to-day schedule has been so busy coming back from time off, 2 consecutive long weekends, that I think we're going to pave the way on a Friday night, meaning this Friday night, late night, and we will simulcast that here on the Michigan channel and over on the Nebraska channel. So
Excellent.
no tape viewing in that one, it
Okay.
being
Yeah.
a 26-year-old
Yep.
debate, and we'll
Yep.
just size up numbers and players, and we'll talk 1997 Michigan Nebraska simulcast on Michigan and Nebraska, and have a fun time debating who would have won that matchup for the national championship.
We have our buddy Mike Fort here, who we appreciate you coming back and hanging out with us the last couple shows. Has a shift, so came here to hit the like button. So if you guys want to be a true Michigan Wolverine fan, okay, do what Mike Fort just did. Hit that like button. Even if you got to go and do a shift or whatever the case may be, he still came in and hit the like button and commented. So there you go. Go blue, Mike Fort.
Thank you, Mike.
Cool. So we got ourselves a Wafel flip, because I can't call him Waffle. Got called out on that. But 4-star defensive lineman Owen Wafel has officially committed to Michigan, flipped away from Notre Dame. We do have our Notre Dame fan who is in the chat, Michael, who I'm sure will be commenting about that very shortly. That they wanted somebody better, right? But at the end of the day, this is a pretty solid commit. We talked about him last week, so we won't go too much into it. But still, another indication here of why not Michigan, right? That's kind of what we're seeing.
Wafel spelled with one F, correct?
Yep.
I botched that. I don't know if I put up any graphics myself, but I think, what are those called when there are pictures, or, sometimes there'll be a series of numbers or letters, and it just goes to show you, I forget, it's fascinating to hear the description of, basically, we've been trained to see things over and over and over. So our eyes deceive us. So I just thought it was Waffle without even looking in the past.
Yeah, but look, we've had to dig on him a little bit, given the fact that we heard the news last week, and then the commit happened 3 days ago. So really cool, and it brings to us. I did just preview the next topic, but of course, before we get into the next topic, we do have a sponsor, and we do want to make sure that everybody looks at that. They're called Aura. Get yourself a free 2-week trial. And I think we've got our favorite video that we'll show and put the link right down so people can get their free trial.
Of us are on the internet pretty much all the time. It's fun. You get to socialize, you get entertained, and in this day and age, it's pretty much necessary. And even if you're one of those people that's not on the internet all the time, you know what is? Your personal information. And there are people out there trying to hack you all the time. They want your email address, they want your phone number, they want your place of employment, and they want to do bad things with it. There's also fairly legitimate corporations and companies that want your information. They want it for marketing purposes. They're going to buy it, they're going to sell it, they're going to trade it. At the very least, it's annoying to you. It's a nuisance, it's aggravating. Your email gets cluttered up with spam email. You get robocalls all the time. That's at the very least. At the worst, it's a threat to your family, to your friends, to your personal information, to your banking, to your finances, to your security, to your safety, to your identity. It can be pretty serious. This video is sponsored by Aura. I got hacked, and it was pretty obvious. This was about 8 or 9 months ago, and there were red flags all over the place. And I didn't exactly know what to do, but I knew I needed to do something quickly. I mean quickly. I researched 8, 10, or 12 companies immediately. I went all over the place. I asked people. I was online looking for the best company that could serve my needs and secure my information. You know who I found? Aura. And I'm glad I did. It was amazing. I contacted them. They got right back to me immediately. Their customer support is phenomenal. Their customer service is first-rate, friendly. They are detailed. They know what they're doing, and they do it right, and they will protect you. In addition to everything I just mentioned, they've got a password keeping service. They keep your credit score. They notify you anytime there's a possible data breach. This has happened to me a number of times. I'm getting notifications all the time when there's a possible compromise to my credit score or anything that I don't want. They've got a VPN that will allow you to browse the internet anonymously. It's amazing. And again, customer service support available 24/7. Click the link in the description section below and get 2 free weeks of Aura. Protect your finances, protect your information, protect your privacy, protect your identity. I did, and I'm glad I did. Aura, thank you so much for what you've done for me, and now for my Voice of College Football community.
And again, it's nice to have a sponsor that I personally use. And so that is a true story, as you can hear right there. And so please check it out. Identity theft is real. And so get some security and peace of mind. Aura.com/MarkRogers.
Yep, and the link has been posted a few times in the chat, so it's real easy to click it. Just go ahead, get yourself a free trial. Helps the channel a lot. So why Michigan? Why not Michigan? I had the pleasure of, right before I was jetting to a dinner, I was able to get on for a couple minutes. Our buddy Jason Moose sent me the link to the Twitter Spaces that was happening with 4-star interior offensive lineman commit Luke Hamilton and 3-star interior offensive lineman commit Jake Gornera. They were on a Twitter Spaces with some folks in the media as well as some fans. And I was able to ask a question. So you guys committed. What convinced you, and what do you try to do to convince others? And the pitch really that they're giving, at least what they're saying publicly that they're giving, is why Michigan? Why not Michigan? Due to the performance on the field, and they think that Michigan will beat Georgia, and that that Michigan can win the national championship. So that's the recruiting pitch that's going out, at least the public one. There's also some NIL initiatives that were just announced, which we'll talk about, and we talked about on Big Ten. But that's kind of what we were thinking, Mark. And now we've heard it from the actual commits themselves as they're trying to convince others.
What I think is exciting about Michigan's position is that they have slayed the dragon, reached the goal within the conference, back-to-back years. So the fluke argument is null and void. It's gone. They've done it 2 years in a row. They won the Big Ten championship. They beat what was considered to be the best team, and was the best team, obviously, and program in the conference. But now they are. So there's a proof of concept element there that's in play now, where before it was we're top 10 or 15, we're going 9-3, 10-2, we can't get it done, and you could sell hope. You could possibly sell hope. That was the attempt, but now you can sell proof of concept. But you're not Alabama or current Georgia, where you come here and yes, you can win a national championship. You may actually have the odds in your favor of winning a national championship in the next 4 years because we just repeatedly do it. But you're not necessarily going to achieve anything. And I don't want to detract from a national championship, but nothing that hasn't been done and accomplished by others in the last several years.
Sure.
For Michigan, you could be a legend. You could do something supremely special here by getting us to the very pinnacle of college football and being on that team to get it done. So, we're not trying to sell a national championship dream at Kansas State. So there's enough proof there to show that we're close, but you can also do something special that's not being done. Okay, you're going to be the next in line at Georgia. And I think that's kind of an exciting place to be for Michigan and for what they are trying to sell.
Yeah, because if you're, I guess one of the things you could say is like you could become a legend. Like this is where a legend, like legends are made because Georgia just won the last 2 national titles and they're favored to win another one. Okay. So going like, yeah, that's also an incentive too, right? Go to a place that's winning titles, but then you're kind of you're kind of employee number 600, and you have to be Brock Bowers level awesome to stand out at a place like Georgia, whereas Michigan, you see all kinds of playmakers breaking out and seeing things. Jake Moody went 99th in the draft, the highest kick level for a kicker that we've seen in years. So legends can be made at Michigan, and this could be the year, especially with Blake Corum coming back. So Jason was there with me along with Antoine. And yes, they said all the recruits love their official visit this weekend. They expect more commits coming soon. Obviously, a commit is expected Friday for MARION Stewart for one. So that's a thing. They also said something really interesting that I wanted to take note of. They said that the position groups, they actually have most of their guys for all of the position groups at this point. So wide receiver, I'd say, would be the notable exception, although MARION Stewart would help. But, I thought that was notable. And I think they're probably speaking more from the O-line perspective because that's their position group that they're closest with. But I thought that was something that was really interesting that they said, that of course, they'd love to get more recruits, but they feel pretty confident about where they're at, and they're pretty close. So thanks, Jason, for letting us know about that. It was very great of you, and I was able to run in there just in time. Father's Day is coming up, and boy, do we have some merch. Both of us wearing Voice of College Football merch today. So go ahead, shop Mark Rogers, Voice of College Football merch. I'm going to put the link right here in the chat, and get yourself something, whether it's a mug, an apron, get a Father's Day gift, whatever the case may be. Here's the link to the merch store. It's right there. Super easy to hop over.
I understand that the top 25 that actually makes sense may not be the hottest of items right now, but we're just 2 months away, and I'm sure these are going to be flying off the shelf once we put the top 25 that actually makes sense back in traffic.
Yeah, we'll have to make sure to hit the link. I know I will. Once you start doing those again and you do the live call-in shows, responses and everything, calling all the commenters out, I will definitely make sure to make sure to post that link all the time so people can get the top 25 merch. Because there's a couple of things now that you can get with just the top 25 alone.
I should probably, John, do damage control way ahead of time here on the Michigan channel because of the non-conference schedule. Do not expect Michigan to be highly ranked in the top 25 that actually makes sense early in the season, if you understand the formula.
Right. Yeah. It's the non-con does play a much larger role the first couple of videos. So speaking of controversy, we're going to address it head on. We had a video posted that got a lot of uproar on the Ohio State channel about Michigan and winning the national championship. If you actually listen to the video, it's actually not that bad. I listened to the whole thing, but we're gonna fire back. And the question that I want to know, Mark, is why can't Ohio State beat Michigan? And if you're Ryan Day, I'm going to put you in the mindset of Ryan Day. Grow the beard, get the Just for Men on the beard, right? And think whether it's being more of a CEO and like shoring up the defense like Urban Meyer did when he said, we want that defense to look more like Michigan State's defense because they are a pain to defend against, and having that CEO mentality more, whether it's figuring out the quarterback and getting that quarterback situation taken care of, or the O-line. Nobody has a question about wide receiver. We know that wide receivers are the best in the country. They're going to two of them are going to go first round. I'm pretty sure at least two of them will go first round. But what are some of the things that you would look at as Coach Ryan Day to beat Michigan in the Big House?
I, by the way, would also need the Just for Men on my beard if I grew it out. Unlike my hair on top, unlike what people sometimes accuse me of. but it would be needed down here. Okay, so this to me is about Kyle McCord. You know, the short list would be extremely short for Ohio State in most seasons. I believe that there are more question marks on this Ohio State football team than there have been in a long time entering the season, because I'm not necessarily sold on the offensive line. They lost the two best tackles that move on to the NFL, really high-end players. Kyle McCord, of course, has not proven anything. And the defense, just to be very general about it. But my concern's the secondary. I'm very comfortable with the defensive line play and the linebackers. Not that they're elite. They could be elite. They have the potential to be elite. But the secondary was largely a mess against good competition last year. So for me, to be nitpicky about the question, first of all, Ohio State can beat Michigan. They just have not the last 2 years. They can beat Michigan. If Illinois can practically beat them, but they haven't. So yes, I'll take the spirit now of the question.
Yes, and I mean the thing is, like you said earlier in the show, 2021 felt to me like a bit of a magical fluke year. And there were some talks about weather and snow and flu and these types of things. And I was like, you know, maybe there's a little bit of validity to that. Hassan Haskins is going away. Hutch is going away. 2022, Ohio State's going to get Michigan back in Columbus. And Michigan, I think they forgot that J.J. McCarthy could throw a deep ball, because J.J. McCarthy really hadn't thrown a deep ball against teams that weren't named Hawaii, Western Michigan, and teams like that, to be fair, right? So Knowles had to pick his poison. What was he going to take care of? And he knew that Blake Corum, if he was playing, which he didn't, but he knew that Donovan Edwards, and if Blake Corum had played, were going to be impact players. So he chose to stop the run. That was his decision. And then what happened? Well, first half was pretty neck and neck. Ohio State was ahead. Michigan, it was tight there in the first half. But then the second half, I guess what do you do when JJ can throw a deep ball, when he can run, when Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards are two statistically of the best running backs in college football, like by the numbers, what do you do? I think what you do is you just win on offense. I think the key is, like with the playoff games, you know how we always say, like in the playoff games, like they're going to get theirs and you just got to score more, right? Think Ohio State, Georgia, right? Somebody just had to score more, really. So that would be, if I were putting it on that, you got to out hit Michigan really more so than anything else, because Michigan's offense is the most dynamic I think that they've been in. I don't even know.
So from a schematic standpoint, if I'm Ryan Day, I've got Jim Knowles by the throat, and I'm pointing out, not just during the Michigan game, during a few other games, what happened on this play? What are you going to do to correct this? In this same situation next season, what is going to happen, whether we are in a bad defense, the wrong defense, we have the wrong player rotation, whatever the issue, what are we going to, if we need to teach better technique, whatever we have to do, all the key letdowns, starting with, of course, the game, I would just want an answer to. From a psychological standpoint, that's tougher to get a hold of, because you don't want to make so much out of this. The game is larger than life for these programs anyway, that you don't want to paralyze your team, especially when you've got to play 11 games before that, and you've got Notre Dame and Penn State and Wisconsin on the road, and Maryland could be tricky. You don't want to paralyze your team. You also, in learning from the Jim Tressel and the Urban Meyer playbook, that they did make this game everything, and it worked. So That's why guys like Ryan Day make $8 or $9 million a year. It's to figure out, okay, where do we find that fine line psychologically of preparing our team and psyching them up and making this big and focused and important, but not paralyzing them psychologically, where they can just freely go through their season and understand that you can't beat Michigan on June 15th. You can take steps, as John likes to state near the end of the show. You can do something today that's going to factor into that game 5 months from now. You can hit that bench press or that squat rack for one more rep and push it through, whatever that is. You can hit the jugs machine for an extra 10 minutes. You can do those things. Watch a little bit more film. Work on Cam Martinez. Work on your hip rotation so you don't trip and fall when Cornelius Johnson, puts a move on you downfield.
Look out. Yeah.
You can do those things, but you can't win the game today. You need to put it out of your mind and just line up against your week one opponent and work it from there. Easy for me to say, but that's kind of the game plan.
Well, also, like, Ohio State has been blessed by some of the best quarterbacks that have in the basically a line of three of probably the top quarterbacks: Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, and CJ Stroud, who just went second overall in the entire draft. Pretty good. That's a lineup where then now you have this quarterback battle, and McCord, in my view, just, if I had to guess right now, he will probably be under center snap number one. Look at the recruiting. They took him over JJ, right? They prioritized him over JJ. They saw something in him. Ryan Day saw something in him. So going up against Devin Brown, when Devin Brown's been injured, you think it's probably going to be McCord game one. But if they struggle against Notre Dame, and especially lose to Notre Dame, then the alarm gets sounded, right? I mean, even Ryan Day, who is notorious for sticking with he sticks with his quarterback. But in this case, it seems shaky. Like, the fact that McCord hasn't won the job yet is kind of shocking, given the fact that Brown has been out.
Yeah, if the spring game's any indication, Kyle McCord has a lot of work to do. He wasn't horrible, but he did not play well. He did not play up to the expectations or the standard of the position at Ohio State in the spring game. Taking that Ohio State expectation at quarterback down through the years, even if we go back beyond that, and I made this statement the other day because it kind of hit me, even through the likes of Todd Beckman and Craig Krenzel and others who were not near elite, every Ohio State quarterback, you have to go back to the year 2000 to find an Ohio State quarterback who did not play for championships, meaning CJ Stroud did not win a Big Ten championship, but he was playing Georgia in a playoff game in the semifinal game. Everybody played championship level. Maybe they weren't elite personally, but they were playing on championship level teams all the way through. Every starting quarterback for Ohio State. So we're going to see if Kyle McCord's going to be the aberration. If he's not going to come through, maybe Devin Brown, and they don't find anyone that's going to be at that level, or the system and the play calling and the talent surrounding the quarterback and the recruiting ranking and all of that is going to prove to be true once again.
And one thing, if we're going back through history, one thing that Urban liked to do a lot was the quarterback read option. And so, when you look at Kyle McCord, I know he's a pro style quarterback. I'm trying to see how well his running ability is. Probably not at the CJ Stroud level. Devin Brown, I think he's a bit more of a dual threat, right?
He is.
So that's another thing. We saw it in the Northwestern game and we saw it in the Georgia game. Didn't really see it much else, but we started to see a little bit of that again, that read option, that RPO where the quarterback can run the ball. So maybe that's something else to look at as you get there. So who knows? We're going to have a fun season. I can't wait. I cannot wait. When you're doing your shopping on Amazon, as we all do, we've got all kinds of things coming up. There's going to be summer shopping and, popcorn makers like I got, whatever you need. When you're doing your shopping on Amazon, just save the link. We post it all the time, and it's on every video that in the Voice of College Football ecosystem. All you have to do is click that link, and it helps the channel. You have the same shopping experience, like 2 seconds, and then Mark gets a couple of bucks, and everybody wins. Then we get to keep having this content. We get to keep having guests and shows and call-in shows and all of these things. If we can just do these couple of things.
We posted something on the community page here recently. If you have any requests for anyone you would like to see us bring on as a guest, we cannot guarantee, but we can certainly pursue. And then you can help us pursue big time guests on social media. So if you have a request, let's start there. If you have a request for anyone, certainly drop that comment, not necessarily in the chat because we may miss it, but in the comment section of any of the videos.
And Blue Dove does point out that, yes, I when I say we all do, I say a lot of people do. And, especially in my area, it's pretty much the only efficient delivery system down here. So that's why I tend to do it more often than not. But yeah, I just posted the link. Just pop in there. Can you guys just bookmark it? Just bookmark it. That's all I ask.
That is a great suggestion. Somebody else told me that our buddy Tim Prangley just told me that the other day. He said exactly what you said. He said, I just grabbed it, bookmarked it, and now I know where to grab it. I don't even think about it anymore. It's become a habit.
Yep. Make that happen. So, we if you tuned into the Big Ten show, which we do every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, normally Mark does the first 2 hours and I do the second 2 hours. We had a bit of a flip-flop due to travel and you coming back, which always happy to try to fill in where I can. But we broke that news on that show that Michigan has announced a new NIL football initiative called Empower. We had been talking, when was the NIL, dedicated Michigan NIL initiative going to happen for the football program? Finally announced on Monday, called Empower. And Empower has 2 goals, right? A minimum baseline stipend for all players on the team. So you got your base, you got your building, you got your foundation. And then if you perform well, then the idea is step 2, you can be easily connected to businesses and donors. And if you perform well, then Dunkin' Donuts and Chipotle, and I'm saying them because they've actually sponsored Michigan players, those types of companies would be probably more likely to do a sponsorship deal if you do well on the field. So I think this is kind of keeping to the spirit of transformational, not transactional, but actually putting operational resources and dedication to it that hadn't existed up till now.
I know there was concern at one point about Michigan's NIL collective, but they took a measured approach. There's a lot of smart people on campus, so they certainly position themselves for the long haul, for the long run, and they've made it through this transition into NIL without being the ones to just jump and grab and throw it together, and certainly still relied on the football program and the relationships and the education at the school to be the tenets of recruiting, and then built the NIL and allow that to form and be a complement.
Absolutely. And Jim Harbaugh, about a day after, so yesterday, was talking about the initiative. And he said, you know, we try to treat our players like our own kids. You get them a car so they can get around places, and we make sure that they're not eating ramen noodles. And that's really the idea behind this, like just making sure that they are able to eat and eat decent. You know, Ann Arbor, I lived there for 4 years. It isn't cheap. And so like just that little bit of support there, I think is going to go a long way in terms of goodwill. And just, you know, it's not going to make or break. Like, you don't come to Michigan because you're going to be making bazillions of dollars. Let's just be real about that. You come to Michigan because you get an extremely high quality education. No one can deny that. I'm very proud of my degree. But also, like, you know, you come for the history, you come for the tradition, and you come because you can genuinely become a legend. I mean, Tom Brady, okay, yeah, obviously he's an exception. He became the greatest quarterback in the history of all time in the NFL, according to some metrics. That you can become a legend, obviously the Charles Woodson. I have his jersey and talk to him on Twitter. Like, these are, like, you can really become somebody. So that's you don't come for the money, but it helps. You don't have to eat ramen noodles. So,
which is the staple, which is the maybe in this day and age it's not the staple, but it will forever be the staple answer of what college kids eat.
Yes, I do remember eating some. Back in the day, it's good stuff. You mix around the Zingermans and Savas and things like that with some ramen, and there's your college diet for you. So next up on what I like to call the Voice of College Football must-see TV block, keep it here, as I'm about to go do my workout, listen to Florida State as you and your Florida State folks talk about official visits and all of that good stuff. I'm going to post the link right here, and I'm going to ask everybody, if you can, even if you can't actually like make it for much of the show, at least go over there and hit the like button. Just go over there, help them out, get them set up for success, hit the like button. You got Florida State at 6 p.m. Eastern, Miami right after that at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then there is going to be an SEC schedule reveal call-in show tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. So expect, I'm sure some of our regular SEC callers will probably be there for that, and may call you up. So should be a good time.
Should be a good time. Much like the Big Ten reveal, more than just a standard schedule reveal. Oklahoma, Texas in the mix provides a lot of interesting angles and opportunities and options for the SEC to unveil. So we shall see.
Can't wait. I'll be watching. Hope everybody tunes in for that. Join us in 10 minutes over at Florida State. Mark, I'll be in chat, and I'll look forward to listening to the show.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And for everybody, just going to say, because Mark can't, of course, go blue, and thanks for joining us today.